That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
All you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass. Woo!
I wish you and King would quit talking.
Welcome to Around the Ring, episode 79. I am your host, one of your hosts, Dave Brown, joined with, as always, Floyd Johnson Jr. How you doing, sir?
I am doing well. This was a great week in wrestling, and I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Heck yeah, it was. It was a really good week. We're going to talk about Wrestle Kingdom. We're going to talk some WWE stuff. And we've got a really fun little top 5 for the week. Top 5 wrestlers in need of a facelift and or a new gimmick. So we will do that toward the end of the show. But let's start out with Wrestle Kingdom. New Japan Pro Wrestling's biggest event of the year is, the 27th annual January 4th show? Was it 20? It's been a long time. They've been doing these shows on January 4th for over 2 decades. And this was the 11th under the new Wrestle Kingdom moniker. It's in the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, which can hold up to, depending on how they have it, over 60,000 people, I think. It is a big-ass place. I mean, huge. And this was, before we go match by match, tell me, overall, what were your thoughts on Wrestle Kingdom? And was this your first Wrestle Kingdom to watch?
This is my first Wrestle Kingdom watching from beginning to end. I've watched matches from previous Wrestle Kingdoms. I am hooked. It is something I will be at. Just the whole idea of it. The last 3 matches could have been a pay-per-view on their own. That's how good this show was. I mean, it was like on the last match on the main event, I was watching most of the show at work, but on the last match, I stopped to really take it in and everything, because it just was the perfect wrap up to the show. I mean, it was like a perfect greeting card to, or a perfect introduction to anyone that questions whether they like wrestling or not, and to bring them back if they like the pure art that is wrestling.
Oh yeah, and we'll go into details in that main event later on. This is probably, I think this is my second, because I watched Wrestle Kingdom, or at least most of last year's Wrestle Kingdom, and it was really good. And this one was just those last 4 matches were ridiculous. And even some of the stuff on the undercard, a lot of it was really good. In fact, there were only a couple matches that I just completely fast-forwarded through and did not really care about. For the most part, I enjoyed all of it. So let's go ahead and get started. Show opened up. It was actually their pre-show with the New Japan Rumble. It's basically their version of the Royal Rumble, but no one really gets anything for winning other than this is our biggest show of the year. Everyone not in a match, we're going to throw you in here. And
yeah, and it's funny because Kevin and Kelly and Steve Corino did a really good job of doing the history and telling what each match was about, or very much Americanizing a lot of the tones for us. In the pre-show Japan Rumble, the fact that they let me know that this was fun. You know, you get a lot of older guys coming in. It's just a way for people to get on the show and just to say they were there. I really did appreciate the match floor, and it was good, and it was like they did entertaining better than the WWE in this one.
It was a lot of fun. The surprising thing, Billy Gunn, he is in the shape of like a 28-year-old. That man is ridiculous, and he's like 50-something.
Yeah, 53 years old, because they said it a couple times, and he is he's a marvel of just what to do. I mean, I know he got popped for steroids in the WWE, that's why he doesn't work there anymore, but 53, the dude looks amazing. He still has the same energy. He was always a great wrestler. If I could look half that good at 53, I would thank the good Lord. So
if I could look half that good now, if I could look half that good at 23,
yeah.
I mean,
He's always been a body guy. He's always been in shape. I probably hasn't had anything he enjoyed eating in like 20 years.
Yeah, and you talked about the commentary. The commentary throughout this entire show, and I mentioned it when we talked our top 5 favorite commentary teams. Kevin Kelly and Steve Corino are just so good together. And it sucks that Steve Corino is leaving, and I loved all of the little
insider things.
Yeah.
He looked surprised to see me. I don't know why.
Yeah. And at one point, it might have been during New Year's Dash, they were talking about upcoming shows, and he goes, "Oh, I can't make that one." And then at one point, they made a reference to WWE, and they called it the E, and Steve Corino says, "Oh, is that what we're calling it now?" It was just so funny. But other standouts I thought in this match, Cheeseburger was awesome. He's just so ridiculous. It is fun no matter what he does. And I got to talk about something before I forget about it. But on New Year's Dash, their Raw After Mania show, he was part of the big 10-man tag match, and there was a moment where he had Bad Luck Fale in the corner and was just kept doing knife edge chops to no effect, and it was so funny. But we'll talk about that later. And then Scott Norton showed up. Scott Norton. And now you talk about a guy who does not look good for his age. He moves so slow.
Scott Norton wasn't fast when he was young.
True.
You have to think, if diminishing returns, if someone was slow and then they got older, they're only going to get slower.
Good point.
But
it has been a long time.
As far as the muscle tone, you could still see there. You could still see Scott Norton there because he always had somewhat of a belly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was just like he's still very much the guy he was, but you can tell he's eating well. He's eating well.
I think you're right. He, as far as when he just stood there, he looked just as opposing as ever. His skin looked a little more leathery. He definitely looked older, but his physique was pretty much the same. But he just moved so slow, and it has been probably 20 years since I've seen a Scott Norton match. And now that I think about it, since you mentioned it, he was never speedy in the ring, ever.
Yeah, he was a big, imposing guy. And he pretty much wrestled like a giant. He used a lot of forearms and body slams. I mean, he was known as a power guy. So, yeah.
And he had a history in New Japan. He was a IWGP Heavyweight Champion at one point.
I truly think that's where he lives. I think he's one of the people that became, in essence, Japanese. He was an import.
Nice. And it ended up Michael Elgin won, and I hadn't really put my finger on it, but I was listening to this morning as I was making breakfast for my daughter. I was listening to the Voices of Wrestling podcast, and they were going through the show, and they kind of hit it with Michael Elgin that he had this look on his face, and I hadn't put it 2 and 2 together yet. He just looked angry. But they were like, he looks like he does not want to be here at all. And when I thought back to it, I was like, yeah, he kind of did have that look on his face. Because he had this really good year in New Japan, and he's walking in the ring like, motherfucker, I am in the New Japan Rumble with Cheeseburger and Billy Gunn. What the hell are they doing? And
he broke his eye socket. That's why. They didn't have time to really build him a storyline. From what listen to me picking up on the commentating. I don't watch New Japan regularly. I mean, I think I'm going to start now, but I don't watch New Japan regularly. So, but they just said he was coming back from a broken orbital bone, and I know that was a legit injury that he had. So, they probably didn't have time to put him in anything good.
Yeah, he was. I forget what he was going to be in, but, and in a way, it was. He got to be on the show. He got the payday. So he shouldn't be too pissed, especially if he, broke his face and whatnot. Yeah. And that's a serious injury because he wasn't out for that awful long. And because, look at Austin Aries had that same thing done, and he's going to be out for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, that was Michael Elgin won, which if he was the one who should have won that match, if he was in that, he should have won it.
Yeah.
And we moved on to Tiger Mask W taking on Tiger the Dark, otherwise known as Masked Kota Ibushi versus Masked ACH. And I think I had way too high expectations for this, because I watched this, I was like, man, this is really stupid.
Yeah, it could have been more fun, especially since it's the action version of an anime. I thought it could have been more fun, and that's all I would have wanted, because you're not supposed to take the match seriously. So I was just like, it could have been more fun, but it was what it was. The WWE has all these type of matches all the time, where it's like they think it's going to be really, really over, and it's not. And for some of the people in the crowd, they might have loved it, that actually have seen the cartoon. I've never seen the cartoon.
I haven't either, and that's what... See, I just kind of... I expected at some point the masks to come off, there'd be this big reveal, blah, blah, blah. I didn't realize that they were literally doing... This is a tie-in with a cartoon, and that's the whole gimmick. And in hindsight now, knowing that, because I didn't really know that going into it, and I figured that out during the match, it makes it not as bad, because not that it was a bad match. These are two excellent pro wrestlers, both complete top tier level guys, and
being Tiger Mask is an honor, because it's been passed to a lot of great wrestlers.
Exactly. But yeah, Kota Ibushi got the win. He was very Ibushi-like through the whole thing too, and I loved the fact that they kept playing that up in commentary. He would do, like, he did that moonsault. I forget the full name of it, but the one from the top rope onto the floor.
Yeah,
and they were like, "Hey, wait a minute." That part, all of that stuff was great. Next up, we had the IWGP Jr Heavyweight Tag Team Championship match. Roppongi Vice challenging the Young Bucks. Roppongi Vice getting the win. I was kind of surprised, but man, this was fun.
Remember, I predicted Roppongi Vice wins.
You did.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was right on. I think I was like 1 for 8. Like, it was crazy. But it was because I remember I didn't pick one match, because I never heard of either one of the people. But I was like 1 for 8, and this was like, I was like, yeah, I saw this one coming. Dude, I dig their theme music, Roppongi Vice's theme music, and they're really good wrestlers.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, this was like, this tag team match was on the level of any heavyweight tag team match in America. It just, like, I guess if the WWE decides to expand their roster even more, I would love to see a juniors tag team division there. Yes and no. I would just... WWE kind of doesn't really know how to do different weight divisions, and I almost just kind of prefer everyone together, especially with the split brands. But I sure as heck would love to see Roppongi Vice in a match against Gargano and Ciampa, or the Revival. That would be incredible. And yeah, I think I mentioned this on our last show. Roppongi Vice, if all you know about Beretta and Rocky Romero is what you've seen in Ring of Honor, they are different animals on New Japan shows. It's kind of amazing how different they are, because they are so good. And can we just talk about the spot? Beretta trying to break his back with that tope dive. Yeah. That he landed straight flat on his back on the floor. Yes. That was the Young Bucks just moved out the way, and I was like, was that on purpose? I said that out loud at work, and everyone's looking at me like I'm freaking retarded, because I'm like, was that on purpose? It looks like when they replayed it, it looked like it was on purpose.
Apparently it was. And this is something I learned from listening to that other show this morning, is there's been a history with Roppongi Vice where for the last half year or so, Rocky Romero, every time the team loses, Rocky's the one who's been eating the pin. And every time they win, it's been Beretta that's doing it. So some of the story of this match was Beretta gets taken out, and Rocky is the one that does all the work pretty much to defeat them, to defeat the Young Bucks.
And how they won, how it was kind of fluky and quick, it was like, that's missing in wrestling to me. Everyone is all about their, the brand, which is their finisher. It is kind of cool when someone wins with a wrestling move. It just means, to me, it's more of building it up as a real sport. Because when you look at it, what are you going to try to not hit? You're going to try to not let someone hit their finisher if you're really studying it and if you're treating it like an athletic competition.
Exactly. And that's something New Japan does better than any promotion in the United States that I've seen, at least, is New Japan makes this feel real. They do an amazing job of treating this like an actual sport. And that's something I really love. And you're right, it came out of nowhere. Roppongi Vice got the win. It wasn't all about their finishers. And the whole thing was great. The Young Bucks freaking out at the end, but then saying, "Oh well, we've got all these other titles," was kind of funny too.
And how the Super Kicks title, I kind of want that belt.
Apparently, it's for sale on their Twitter feed, at least according to Steve Corino.
Well, according to Young Bucks, everything they have is for sale. That is how they live. I mean, they're not. They've said it. They're T-shirt salesmen who happen to wrestle.
Yep, and they do an amazing job at it. But I loved the fact they walked out wearing the Ring of Honor titles, tag team titles. They had the PWG tag team titles. They had the IWGP Jr. Heavyweight Tag Team titles, and they had their Super Kick Tag Team titles, and they just had all of these belts all over themselves, and it was a great visual.
And then all their clothes were gold, so they were literally draped in gold.
They were.
Yeah. They were. And a key theme to the night, this was your first title change.
It was first of many.
Yes.
And the next match was a gauntlet match for the Never Openweight 6-man Tag Team Championship. This is one that I only paid attention to certain parts. I started to fast forward through parts. I was like, ooh, Will Ospreay, doing his best Okada impression. Dressing like Okada with Okada's hair. I don't know. I mean, they're part of the same faction, but. And then when Ricochet came in there, I was like, ooh, Ricochet. But otherwise, it was... Because, I mean, let's be honest. The Hangman Page, Adam Page, I like. But those other two Jamokes are like the absolute bottom dregs of the Bullet Club.
Well, one was the Tokyo Pimp, right?
Yeah.
Yes. The women that he came out with. Oh, my God. I mean, it put anything the Godfather ever did to shame.
Oh, yeah.
I think every woman that came out of there was at least a 9. Like, wow.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. And then
Steve Corino's little reactions to it, how he wasn't paying attention to the match was amazing.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a married man. He's like, are you trying to take your ring off? I was dying.
Yep. Well, at the end, Bushi, Evil, and Sonata picked up the win, even though they only held the belt for one night. But we can talk about that when we get to New Year's Dash. New Japan does a pretty good job of not hot potatoing their belts around, except this title. This title has been around for 1 year, and there have already been 10 different teams have held it.
Yeah, it's a 6-man title. I mean, I think that's the point. You can go to a show and you can always give a title change because you don't care about this belt.
Yeah.
There's no prestige with this belt. By next year, there'll be 25 champions.
And that'll be Charlotte next year.
Yeah.
All right, next up we had Juice Robinson, the former CJ Parker, taking on the debuting Cody Rhodes. And Juice Robinson, is really good.
Yes, and let me tell you, Kevin Kelly and Steve Corino made this match because in my mind I was watching CJ Parker and I'm like, he's just going to job out again. The good job they did during this match of telling his story, how he left WWE and he joined the Young Lions program and he moved to Japan, and I was thinking about it. I was like, I didn't see him on any American shows or whatever. No, he moved to Japan to get better at his craft. And this match was kind of the culmination of the more than a year that he's been in Japan, and now he's considered like a regular wrestler, and hopefully, they start pushing him and he starts winning. But this match, if he wanted to say, hey, this is what you were missing, WWE, it was perfect because they put on a solid match. I'm not going to go amazing, but it was a very solid wrestling match.
It was. It was really good. And, I mean, CJ Parker was that guy in NXT that you would say, hey, we got this new guy coming in. We want you to make them look good. And he always did a great job at that. And to some extent, he does that in New Japan. But he's better than he was. He's a lot better than he was. And he's given a lot more respect. And I think he's going to get in some bigger feuds because on New Year's Dash, he pinned the never openweight champion in a tag match, and it looks like he's going to be the first challenger for the new neverweight champion, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. I thought Juice Robinson did a really good job making Cody Rhodes look really good, and Cody looked good. That
STF, or I don't know, the modified Indian Deathlock. I don't know what name he's gonna give it, but that move is freaking awesome. I don't even know what I honestly, if you say do what he did to him to you, I couldn't figure it out. I mean, he wrapped his legs up so many different ways that I was like, what is he doing? And I was like, man, if he really sells that as a finisher, that would be amazing. I've never liked Crossroads as a finisher. I've never liked it, but I could see that submission winning some matches.
Yeah, I think they're calling that the American Nightmare. As that, I think that's what that move is being called. That's also his nickname as well.
Yeah, I actually ordered the American Nightmare shirt.
Nice.
For hoping he's in Orlando when if he's at some of the other shows in Orlando. That's the goal, but
cool.
I got the American Nightmare shirt because I love the gimmick, and I just don't understand how WWE did not pull off that gimmick, because it just seems like he's been holding on to this for a long time, and I'm pretty sure he pitched it to the WWE. I mean, this is me not knowing any inside information. It just seems like he went straight into this character, and it's like it's probably been a character that's been in his head forever.
Yeah, and he's really good at it.
And he's really good at it. I mean, I as much as I love Cody and things, I found myself hating him a few times during the match just because he's such a good heel.
He really is. He really, really is. Because he's got the good looks. Like, I'm this really good looking guy. You should, of course, love me. And he has that swagger about him, and he's really coming into this character. And you saw the first bit of it at Final Battle when he turned on Jay Lethal, and it's really coming to fruition in this match. And yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, and like I said, Corino did a really good job getting the match over, getting Cody over, saying, definitely was funny that he mentioned Dusty and Dustin were at the first Wrestle Kingdom or the first January 4th show, and now Cody Rhodes is at this show, and that he's been in the ring with all three of them, and Cody is the best.
That was cool.
He did a really good job. But Dustin and Dusty would say the same thing, that he's a natural athlete, he's smooth, he has it all in the good looks. And I agree. I agree a lot with the Cody Rhodes. He is charismatic, but he's definitely not as charismatic as the other two.
Yeah, oh yeah, no. He has where the other two are charismatic, especially Dad. he has the looks, and he is smoother than the other two. And that's saying a lot, because Goldust is pretty darn smooth.
Yeah, Goldust, yeah. I'd still put him as better wrestler than the WWE right now, even though he's playing the more of the comedic character. That's just knowing what he can do.
Yeah. Shoot, there was something I was going to bring up. Crap, what was it? Cody. It's gone. I forget. Well, moving on, we had the Ring of Honor World Championship. Adam Cole challenging Kyle O'Reilly. And here, okay, so one thing I thought about the first half of this show is the crowd was really hit and miss. They would pop for some things, and then they were just dead silent for others. And that is pretty typical Japanese crowds, except during the last 4 matches when they were pretty much alive, especially that final match. They were just bonkers the whole time. But this match, I think, had this match been in like Hammerstein Ballroom in front of a Ring of Honor crowd, it would have felt like a much better match, because what they were doing in the ring, I thought was really good. Because these two guys have, it
was a great Ring of Honor match.
Yep.
And if the story of this match was to tell how tough Kyle O'Reilly is, they told that really, really well. Because he got the crap beat out of him.
He did. And we got Adam Cole becoming your first 3-time Ring of Honor World Champion, the first and only 3-time Ring of Honor World Champion right now. He was one of a handful of people who were 2-time champions. Austin Aries held it twice. Jay Briscoe. Did Samoa Joe hold it twice?
I don't think so. Okay. I may be wrong, but I don't think so.
But there was only a few people that hold it twice, and now he's the only person to hold it 3 times. I will say, Adam Cole's New Japan entrance music is awful. It is so bad, and the way it screams "Adam Cole, baby" over and over and over and over.
That is awesome. It's Adam Cole, baby.
Once, man, and it's because he doesn't get to come out and do it himself, really, with that music.
Yeah.
But again, it's with the New Japan crowd. They just really didn't care. They like Red Dragon, but I don't think they give 2 poops about Adam Cole.
Yeah, no, I felt that, and it felt like it, but I can say the big thing about this match. You're 3 for 3 on title changes in this match.
Yep.
3 for 3. Good old Adam Cole, baby. I am definitely a bigger Adam Cole fan than I am a Kyle O'Reilly fan. This match moved the meter for Kyle O'Reilly, and I've heard that he looks like he's signing with the WWE, which is kind of cool. It's kind of funny because Bobby Fish just signed with ROH, so they did not sign Red Dragon. That's Red Dragon, right? O'Reilly and Fish, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they did not sign Red Dragon, but they did get half of them.
And that kind of makes me sad, because I think Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly really came into their own together. That's when they their charisma clicked. And now Bobby Fish is a very charismatic guy. And the fish tank thing that he does is great. And I'm disappointed that we're not going to get them as a tag team in NXT, because I can only imagine DIY taking on Red Dragon, how incredible of a match that would be.
But they push Bobby Fish as the ROH TV champion. He might want a year or 2 more seasoning. He might not want to go into WWE as a tag team. You know, some people do tag teams to get over, but they have no desire to stay in a tag team. And if he came into WWE, they might have wanted the Red Dragon to be a permanent tag team, because they seem to be going that way. It's not like you're just in a tag team until we can push you as a single star. You're staying in a tag team now.
Yeah, that's true. But his Bobby Fish, it's getting to the point he needs to sign now, or he's not going to, because he's 40.
I did not know he was 40.
Yeah.
He looks very good for his age and very young. I thought he was in like his early 30s and he still had time. He just might not want to be a part of the machine. Some people are like that. Christopher Daniels, they offered him a contract him and AJ a contract to come in as a tag team, and he didn't want to.
And it's worked out. He's had a good career, and if you're able to make a good living, and I'm pretty sure Bobby Fish can make a good living doing Ring of Honor and New Japan and other indies, then yeah. But yeah, the other thing we talked about with this match is the story of whoever wins is probably the one staying with Ring of Honor for at least the next 6 to 9 months. So it looks like we know that Adam Cole's contract goes through, I think, April.
It is May.
It's May, okay.
It goes through May. He can't start negotiating with WWE. And, of course, everything I say is based on internet rumors. I am not an insider, so I wanted to make that very clear as I say this sounding like a fact, even though I can't confirm that it's a fact, is that, according to internet rumors, his contract is through May, and he can't start negotiating with anyone outside of ROH until May 1st.
So that means he's probably going to hold the title through at least their first or second big pay-per-view of the year, depending on if they, re-sign him. And I think he's a younger dude. He is, let's see, how old is, I think he's in his early 30s. Wikipedia, oh no, he's 27, damn.
Who?
Adam Cole.
He's 27?
He's 27. He was born in 1989.
Wow. Adam Cole, baby. And he's been in the Ring of Honor for 10 years. Talk about a person that has really honed their craft and really gotten good at what they do. He started early, and he is elite when it comes to in-ring performances.
Agreed. So we have new Ring of Honor World Champion. Next up, we had a 3-way match for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championship. Let's see, who was the champions were the Guerrillas of Destiny. They were taking on GBH and Chaos, which was Ishii and Yano. And the story of this match was Ishii and Yano had stolen not only the title belts, but the Tag League, I forget the full name of it, trophies, which Makabe and Homa, GBH, had won. So they're walking around with all of these trophies that aren't theirs. And Yanu is just a goofball. But they ended up winning. So I have to eat my words. A few months back, I talked on the show about Guerrillas of Destiny sucking, because up to that point, everything I'd seen them in was pretty bad. And I'm going to have to take that back. Those guys have improved leaps and bounds in the last year.
Yeah, it feels like they're almost, if not quite, almost WWE ready. Because their moves, they're set, they got their program down. They do what they do, and they do it well. Only thing I could say is that they're really like a bigger version of the Usos minus the super kick.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And, so I could see, WWE not signing them because they'd say, oh, we already have one of those. But I could see WWE signing them because everybody's definitely afraid of Haku.
As they should be, because that man is terrifying.
And his sons are freaking giants.
They are.
They are put together in a way that not many people are put together. They are imposing as soon as they go in the ring. You put them in a match with the Authors of Pain, and it's just like someone's going to die.
Yeah, and what was New Year's Dash when they came out, they did not have the face paint, and I actually liked that. I'm not a fan of their face paint. Because they're actually good-looking dudes, man. These are, first of all, they're both ripped. But they actually are, attractive Tongan gentlemen. And so hiding it behind all that face paint is just kind of silly. But this match was, I kind of went in and out on it, but there were parts that were hilarious. Mostly because the Guerrillas of Destiny have some of the filthiest mouths you have ever heard anywhere.
Yeah. They said, and that's one thing would definitely have to change if they come to the PG world of WWE. And the Carinos WWE sensitive ears. He's adapting. He's like he couldn't quit laughing because they kept saying fuck and motherfucker. They got really hardcore in the language, and I was like, good Lord, why?
it was hysterical. But yeah, Chaos ended up winning, so they are now the IWGP Tag Team Champions. So they actually weren't stealing the belts when they took them, but they did keep the trophies, which they didn't win. The best thing, Guerrillas of Destiny, I thought were the best thing about this whole match.
Yeah, they really showed up, and if you didn't know who they were before the match, I would be hard-pressed to find anyone that wasn't a fan after the match.
Yes. Okay, so next up we have the IWGP Jr Heavyweight Championship match. Kushida defending against Hiromu Takahashi, which I guess he used to be known as Kamatachi. And this was the beginning of the main event portion of this show. And these next 4 matches were all outstanding. And this one was, and it like each match got better and better and better. It's like you watch one of these matches, like, holy crap, that was great. And then you watch the next one, you're like, oh my god, that was even better. And it just kept happening that way. This was really good. I wished I had known more of the story behind this. I was more familiar with Kushida, thanks to Ring of Honor, because he's worked a lot with Ring of Honor. But this was a great juniors match, and there was that one spot that it was that kind of wheelbarrow thing that you turn into a pinning, where it's like one guy jumps and puts his legs under the other person's armpits and then spins around. That when that was done off the top rope, I swear to God, I thought he broke the dude's neck. I was like, oh.
He flipped over just right. I remember I brought back about 10 seconds to really slow it down and watched it. And it was just like, you know what? There's no such thing as a dangerous move when people are trained correctly. And that's what that match told me. Because I imagined WWE would never allow that move to happen or certain moves to happen. But when you're trained correctly, that stuff's not as dangerous. It's definitely not. In the hands of someone who knows what he's doing. Just like with AJ Styles in the Styles Clash when he saved James Ellsworth. When you have someone that knows what they're doing, there's an adjustment. It is teamwork, and you can make things look like that look like amazing. And that move looked amazing because for a moment, I did think his neck was broke. And that is what wrestling is supposed to be. You know, I'm supposed to legitimately be concerned for the person.
Yep. Yeah, that was... so what did you think of this match?
Man, let me just say this. When I watched it, I was like, man, that was a really, really good match. I was like, that's like a 4-star match. And it was like, as I'm watching the rest of the shows, I have to adjust. Because every match was so much better than the previous one. It's like I could have watched that last 3-4 matches I wouldn't say every day, but almost every day, and I would want to use those matches as teaching tools when someone first comes in and says, this is where you're at. This is where you want to be. Because they told stories. They told stories in a language I didn't understand, but they told amazing stories with their bodies. Yeah,
agreed. And so Takahashi won the title, another title change, continuing the theme for the night. And this was great. The next match we had the Never Openweight Championship, which unlike the 6-man tag team Never Openweight Championship, this one is actually protected. This belt does not change hands all that often. And it was Shibata defending against Hiroki Goto. And holy crap.
I have a new favorite wrestler outside of the WWE. His name is Katsuyori Shibata, or just Shibata.
Oh, he is so good.
Is amazingly fluid. he has a way of looking fluid like a Randy Orton, but wrestling as stiff as any person I've ever seen. There was a couple of shots in there. I'm just like, you know what? He just elbowed him. He just forearmed him. There was no pulling there. He just knocked the crap out of him. And I know the never open weight has become more of the strong style title, but that match was crazy how physical it was.
Yeah,
crazy. Like, you will never see anything. Like, I thought Cesaro and Sheamus with their uppercuts and forearms was pretty freaking physical. But this made that look like kiddies playing touch football or some crap like that. Because they were killing each other. Every move.
Yeah, they really were. And it was... yeah, and, you know, the WWE talks about Sheamus being this big brawler. He looks so sad in comparison to Shibata. And Shibata's he's a tall guy, but he's not bulky.
Yeah.
But yeah, he man,
Yeah.
and apparently the press conference, which I did not watch because it's Japanese and I don't speak it, but he did say that he is not going to challenge for the Neverweight title again. So he is moving on, maybe to challenge for the Intercontinental or the Heavyweight title at some point, which is good. I mean, he's definitely a main event guy. He is. Oh my God, he is.
I wish the WWE was like Wrestle Kingdom in the way that they would bring in great wrestlers from other companies, because I would love to see Shibata in a match against Randy Orton. That's kind of my dream matchup right now.
Oh, that would be really good.
I just think their body types, and I think Randy Orton. I think he is one of the few people that could go to that strong style and wouldn't care, because he wrestles somewhat of a physical style, a striking style, and he also is kind of methodical in the way he fights. So him versus Shibata would be an amazing match. I think they would put on a great match.
Now, what do you think are the chances that Shibata could ever show up in the WWE?
It's one of those things. It's like Nakamura. Nakamura's had a wrestling career. Pretty much his wrestling career in the New Japan, if he never wrestled again, it would have been done. You know what I'm saying? It would have been like, he's one of the greatest of all time. He's a great wrestler. And then he came to the WWE. So I feel like if Shibata finishes with, in his mind, did all he could do in New Japan, I could see him signing with the WWE.
Yeah, I could see that. And Vince is big on looks, but he is a really good-looking guy, so the ladies will like him. I don't know how well he speaks English, if he speaks English at all, but that, I think, is becoming less of an issue than it used to be, because this show did a lot of business in the United States. They had, according to reports, New Japan had something like 10,000 new subscribers to New Japan World, over half of which was from the United States, just specifically for this show.
Well, the thing with Shibata, I think you could do, if you wanted to, he could never say a word and be fine. He tells such a physical style with how he goes to the ring. I mean, he could be an import, someone if you wanted to do a manager or a wrestler that had a problem with another wrestler, he could be an import that they bring in Shibata to beat the crap out of somebody.
Oh yeah, and imagine if they ever did a story where Heyman and Brock Lesnar broke up, Heyman could bring in Shibata.
Yes,
because anyone who's ever seen Shibata wrestle, you put him next to Brock Lesnar, and yeah, he's smaller, but you look at those two and you're like, yeah, he has a chance against Brock Lesnar. Legitimately throwing down fighting, I mean, that's not unreasonable. It's like, this Shibata guy will kill you. He's terrifying. That's why he was on my list of, scariest wrestlers, people who you think legitimately would kill you, that we had a while back. because, man, yeah, but he's amazing. I just...
Like I've mentioned before, and I've said this before, so I don't mind repeating myself. He looks like the guy that's kind of sitting behind the mob boss. And he's just sitting there, and he never says a word. Maybe doing something with his hands, like eating peanuts or something like that. And if you got to have a conversation with him, you're dead.
Good call. Man, yeah, you're right. That's perfect.
Like, if you like, oh yeah, just go have a talk with him. Yeah, you're not coming back. you're dead.
Yeah. So next up, we had the semi-main event. It's the IWGP Intercontinental Championship match. Naito defending against Tanahashi. Tanahashi is the old... He's kind of the guy who's been around for a long time. He's 40-something. He still thinks he is just the number one badass. And then Naito, who was his young boy at one point, is the brash anti-establishment guy. And... okay, so, yeah, the Kushida, the junior heavyweight match was incredible. And then Shibata and Goto came out and just killed it. Incredible. And
they wrestled a completely different style.
Totally different style.
I mean, it was like borderline MMA fight type style.
And then you have Tanahashi and Naito even top that.
Yeah.
In, again, a third completely different style.
Yeah.
And this was... And the crowd was into it, and I love the fact the crowd was cheering and booing both of them at different times, and I love that was pissing Tanahashi off, because he's this old guy. He's like, why don't you guys still love me? He's almost getting to be this delusional older guy that still thinks he's young and cool.
Yes. Watching the match, that was a perfect way of telling it, what you just said there. And I'm getting into the match, and honestly, it took me a while to really get into it, and it told a really good, like I said, I'm big on the story of wrestling. I mean, wrestling in its purest form is telling a story with your body, and I just think it did.
Agreed. And then we had the main event.
Hold on.
Okay, hold on.
You're still champion, Naito.
Yes.
He's the first person. You are all the way into the show. You had, I think, 8 title matches. You are 6 title matches in before you had someone hold their belts.
And that was, I mean, for a minute there, I thought, I was like, they're going to clean sweep this. Every title's going to change hands. But it made sense for Naito to keep this title. I really like him. And you look kind of at this upper echelon of New Japan, and they're super top tier guys. And it's Naito, it's Tanahashi, it's Omega, it's Okada, and then you could put Shibata in just almost in that echelon. He's about to jump in there. And that's pretty much the entire last 3 matches are these top tier wrestlers, best in the world level guys. And yeah, this finally a champion retained, and at this point the crowd was finally awake totally. They really woke up through this whole last 4 matches. And that's my only real complaint about this show as an overall is the fact that the first half of the show, the crowd was kind of dead.
But from what I understand, Japanese crowds aren't WWE crowds. So that crowd was alive for a Japanese crowd. You know what I'm saying? They are quiet crowds. They watch the match, and they clap hands. They clap their hands when something's good happens. They're a very quiet crowd compared to what we're used to. True. You're not going to get too many "this is wrestling, this is awesome" chants because they're actually watching the match.
That is true, and it kind of depends. And you're right. And as shows go on, they get more and more into it, especially during main events. But then you watch New Year's Dash, and that crowd was on fire the whole time.
I think you used it better. It's like a Raw. I mean, it's very much a smaller crowd, so you have the most passionate, loud fans in a very small area.
True. Very good point. Well, let's go on to the main event, IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Quite possibly the most prestigious title in professional wrestling. Okada defending against Kenny Omega. Okada had Gato in his corner, and Omega had the Young Bucks in his corner, and you know what? No shenanigans at all through this whole match. No one, other than setting up tables and moving stuff out of the way, no one got involved. And this was 46 minutes of pure wrestling bliss. Holy sweet mother of God. That, and I don't mean this as hyperbole, that is quite possibly the best wrestling match I've ever seen in my life.
I am definitely going to watch it again. It was an amazing wrestling match. I will not put it in the best wrestling match I've ever seen in my life or in that list. Only reason why, and I will tell people this forever, I was more emotionally connected to the other matches that I would rate higher than this. But this match, as far as in-ring performance, the art of wrestling, which you will hear me say so many times, you will never see a better match.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's even Dave Meltzer gave this 6 stars. It's a 5-star ranking system, and he gave it 6. People are legitimately asking the question, was this the greatest match of all time? And if it wasn't, it is in that conversation.
If you look at it from a pure wrestling standpoint, you won't see it done any better.
Right. And I feel bad for every other match this year because I highly doubt anything can beat this as match of the year.
It's crazy because it's the main event, and it's been so long. AJ Styles has actually brought this back to the WWE, where the main event is the best wrestling match on the show.
Oh yeah, that in WWE, the main event. I mean,
it's never the best match on the show. Never. Then AJ Styles came, and they put him in the main event, and it started being the best match on the show. And I don't know if that came from New Japan, or is it just his talent over everyone else's? But his match was the best. This match was the main event. It was the best match on the show. It was the most engrossing match on the show. And you had no idea who was going to win this match.
Yeah, and I tried so hard to stay away from results because I didn't actually get to watch this until yesterday.
Yes, that's when I watched it too. So we were in the same one.
And so, you're online and you're like, I'm scrolling through, scroll faster. Because I heard rumblings that is Kenny Omega WWE bound? Is Kenny Omega done? I was like, wait, what? And I was like, I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. So I did kind of have that in the back of my mind watching this, but the whole time, seriously, folks, if you haven't watched this match, please do yourself a favor. It is worth every single second. It is incredible. And there was another spot in this match. There were 3 spots this night that made you go, oh, holy God, someone just died. And one of them was in this match. And it was Kenny Omega flying, taking a back body drop over the top rope onto a Japanese table, which aren't those super gimmick tables like the WWE that you sit on unless you are Sasha Banks, and it automatically breaks. Oh, that could have gone so badly.
Yeah.
And I loved his Kota Ibushi callback with that moonsault, not just onto the floor but over the railing.
Yes, he got so much distance on that.
This is seriously. These are 2 of the best wrestlers alive today. And you could make the argument in ring wise, 2 of the best of all time. And this just even in defeat, Kenny Omega looked so good. Because yes, Okada also held on to the belt barely, but man, they made Kenny look good because he ate 6 Rainmakers?
Yeah. Before it finally put him out, the Rainmaker, Moose does a version of it in the in TNA, right?
Yes.
Moose is an offensive lineman from the NFL, 6'6", 300 pounds. His pales in comparison to Okada's.
Yeah, and
you think this big old giant man throwing a spinning clothesline would be the most over thing ever. Well, this 6'3", 230-pound Japanese dude does the move in a way where I will buy it putting anyone out.
Oh yeah, yeah,
and that's to me, that's anything. And I've heard this before in NXT. I've seen it on shows that say any move can be a finisher. It's just what you do. I actually believe that now because I absolutely hated that move until I saw him do it. And when I saw him do it, I was like, oh my God, that dude is dead. I know it has a lot to do with how Kenny Omega puts the move over because he would backflip or damn near flip over every time he hit it. But yeah, it was a clothesline from a normal-sized human being that looked like it murdered the guy.
Yeah, especially that last one where the way Kenny flipped and landed on the back of his head, and but
the whole spot where he never let go of his wrist, he was kneeing him in the face, kneeing him in the face, kneeing him in the face, and then he hits the Rainmaker. I was like, that might have been the single best spot I've seen.
That was incredible. You mentioned Moose doing that move. If you've never seen it, Moose and Okada had a match in Ring of Honor. Want to say it was last year, maybe early 2016, late 2015 at some point. I think it was just like a TV match. It might have been a pay-per-view. I can't remember which, but it was really, really good. And Okada obviously won, but Moose looked so good by the end of it. So if you haven't found that, definitely try to track that down. That was a good match. But this was ridiculous. Now, Kenny Omega, is he staying in New Japan? Has WWE offered him a super fat check?
I'm saying he's staying in New Japan because what New Japan has done, they do a great job of the storylines I always like to tell, and I think WWE could benefit from telling these stories well. He is gonna go get better and then come back. You know what I'm saying? That's a storyline that New Japan writes really, really well. And what they'll do is go work a few ROH shows or work in America for a little while, and then they'll come back and they'll push him through the moon because he went to America and got better. And I just think WWE would, like I said, I've always said that they would benefit from those matches. Like when Darren Young was going to get great again, they would have benefited from having him go work indie shows or go work for like one of the indie shows that they work with, and he goes there, he wins their title, you know what I'm saying, and then he comes back to WWE and they push how he went off and got better.
That would have worked. Yeah, they should utilize Evolve a little bit more like that.
Yes. Yeah, you utilize NXT. Utilize NXT the same way. Go throw him down there. He goes down there. He wrestles the champion, and they put on main event matches and all that kind of stuff. Maybe give him the belt. Maybe not give him the belt. Depends on how you feel about it at the moment. Then he comes back up to the main roster, and you talk about how he went to NXT. He felt like he needed to start over, and he went down there and he trained again. He trained every day. He trained with the younger people, and he came back and got better. That is how you can explain a push, rather than somebody just start winning matches out of nowhere.
Yeah. So that was, you're right, and that was Wrestle Kingdom. Hell of a show. Apparently,
I was gonna say this Okada match. I honestly don't think words will ever tell you how good it is. I can tell you as a 30-year wrestling fan that as far as in-ring execution, it's one of the top 5 matches I've ever seen in my life. But you're not going to understand what it is until you watch it. Until you take the time. put your phone down, get off the internet, just put this video up on the screen and just watch the match. Totally be engrossed in it, because I guarantee you will be entertained every moment of the match.
Amen. I couldn't have said it better. And so that was followed up with New Year's Dash, the Raw after Mania for New Japan at Kurikan Hall, which is apparently just right down the road from the Tokyo Dome. This was the same, if I'm not mistaken, this was the same place that they had Beast in the East. Was it not?
Yes. Okay. Yes, from what I understand, yes.
Yeah, it's a cool building. This was the building that last year Kenny Omega made his rise, where he turned on AJ Styles. He and the Young Bucks just destroyed AJ, kicked them out of the Bullet Club, and that was AJ heading off to next stop, Royal Rumble. Well, actually, he stopped in Progress or Rev Pro before then to lose the belt to Zack Sabre Jr., but that's a whole other story. Anyway, he was WWE bound. But this was this show. Sometimes with your just basic New Japan shows, you get a lot of clusterfuck tag team matches, and that's what this show was. Let's throw 10 random ass people together and have a tag team match. But there was a really, really good Bullet Club versus Chaos 6-man tag team match that was just super fun. That was the second match? If I'm not, did you see that one?
Yes. Was that the Tokyo Pimp and?
Yeah, and Adam Cole and Hangman Page.
See, I didn't see that. That was not the second match. It might have been the third or fourth match.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have the exact.
Because the second match, I mean, the first match was the old guys. It was like Jushin Liger, Tiger Mask, and I guess he's a young boy. And they wrestled Homicide, Dave Finlay, and someone else.
That's right. And then there was Billy Gunn and
Tatsu
against a couple Bullet Club guys.
That was the last match I saw.
Okay. And then you had, and I can't remember which guys from Chaos it was, but it was Chaos against the Bullet Club, and it was a freaking great match. It was a lot of fun. And then you have this, I guess it's Team 2000. It was Scott Norton and a bunch of other dudes with Cheeseburger against the Bullet Club, and Kenny Omega was in this match. And there are two sides to Kenny Omega. There's main event Kenny Omega, who we saw last night, or the previous night, and then there is silly or fun Kenny Omega, when he's the one who comes out in light colored tights with tassels and stuff. And he was trying to get Scott Norton to join Bullet Club. The best part about this match, at one point, Scott Norton does a gorilla press slam to Cheeseburger, throwing him out of the ring, and when he was caught by all of the Bullet Club team, who then threw him back into the ring. It was hilarious.
He only weighs like $130, so that's pretty easy.
Some other things happened during this night. Michael Elgin was in a match, and I forget against who. Well, he's going to challenge for the Intercontinental title. He hit a Burning Hammer, or his version of the Burning Hammer, which looks more like an inverted AA than a Burning Hammer, but it was actually pretty brutal looking. And then we had this match where you've got Will Ospreay, and it was Chaos against I guess who's that other? Is it LIJ? I forget which, but it was Shibata and a whole bunch of other people. And in this match, Ospreay kept going after Shibata like crazy. And I'm sitting there going, "Ooh, Will Ospreay versus Shibata? Yes, please. Give me lots of that." And this is the match that Juice Robinson actually got the pin on Goto, on the Never Openweight champion. And afterwards, he's standing over Goto with the team, and he's holding the Neverweight championship. And so he's going to be challenging for that Never Openweight championship. And in the midst of all
wrestling, that style will go a long way to changing his image.
Oh yeah, agreed. And it was during all of this that Suzuki Gun shows up and destroys everyone.
I don't know who that is.
They are, so Okay, Suzuki Gun is a stable. It's a villainous wrestling stable. They've been in New Japan. They've been in a bunch of places. But let's see, who all's in there? Davey Boy Smith Jr.'s in it. Lance Archer's in it. The main guy who runs it is... what's his name? It's actually Suzuki something. It's a Minoru Suzuki. He's the leader of the group, and they just came in and destroyed everybody. Shelton Benjamin's been in it before, but obviously he wasn't there today during this night.
So the Killer Elite Squad did show up.
Basically, yeah.
Oh.
And,
I'm a big Killer Elite Squad guy, but I didn't know what Suzuki Gun is. I've always been honest in my lack of knowledge of Japanese wrestling. I'm hoping that gets better this year, but time. I don't necessarily have unlimited amounts of time to watch wrestling, so I will do my best to get educated.
And then the only other notable thing, the Never Openweight 6-man Tag Team Championship was on the line, and there are new champs, and I sadly can't even remember who the crap won. And it's not jumping out to me on the interwebs, but again, that's the Who Gives a Crap title. It's David Finlay, Kojima, and... No, wait, that's not them. One moment, please. Current, they won it. It's Tanahashi, Nakandipsh, and two other guys whose names I can't pronounce. So please forgive me. I'm not very good with Japanese names. But yeah, now Tanahashi has the Never Openweight 6-man belt. And
the longest reign was 101 days.
That's, jeez, man. That's just, yeah.
Shortest reign was 1 day. Yeah. I didn't know David Finlay was Fit Finlay's son.
I didn't either until they were mentioning that.
Yeah, I didn't know he was David Finlay Jr., as in Fit Finlay Jr.
Yeah. Yeah, God. And how many of these, you look at these reigns, and it's like, successful defenses, 1. The most successful defenses was 2. I mean, you win this belt and then you drop it, is pretty much the story of this title.
Yeah, the 101 days was because they didn't defend it.
Jeez, that's crazy. But yeah, New Year's Dash was really fun. Nothing, as far as match-wise, nothing major happened. The biggest thing was Suzuki Gun returning. The crowd was awesome. And the commentary was great. And you kind of got the sense that, without saying it, this was kind of, Steve Corino's goodbye. I don't know if he's got anything else left in Ring of Honor. I'm sad.
I hope he announces in the WWE, and I hope this leads to the WWE, each one of their brands, having a unique announce team. Because I like Mauro, and I like him on SmackDown, but I just think that it should be a unique announce team. And Corey Graves is like on 3 different announce teams.
Yeah. It would be nice if they were able to switch that up, and he is so good, and he would be such a great foil for somebody. I don't know who to have him work with. I mean, he could be hilarious with just about anybody. But that is New Japan. They had a hell of a week. Apparently, Vince McMahon is saying that he wants WrestleMania to be better than Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, I've heard that rumor, and I was just like, from what I understand, from what I've understood, that is different than anything I've ever heard, because his whole shtick is that he doesn't care about any other company. So the fact that that's a rumor that comes out, I find it. All the rumors before is that he doesn't care about any other companies, and I find that rumor to be. It's very hard for me to believe. And that's the whole thing with the wrestling community. You have to take your rumors and decide which ones you want to believe in. which ones you don't. I find that one hard to believe because he's never really been about the in-ring product anymore. He's about the show.
Maybe, though, that's what... Because there are a lot of people that have said this is one of the greatest shows, not just with one of the best matches of all time. This is one of the greatest wrestling shows of all time.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. The WWE hasn't been concerned on putting in a great wrestling show in a very long time. To me, in my opinion, as a wrestling fan, that they haven't been concerned about putting on a great actual art of wrestling show in a very long time.
True.
So that's what I'm saying. It seems to go completely away from what the WWE is. They are an entertainment show. It is a rock concert that happens to have wrestling in it.
You know, though, I tell you what, that show had so many of those like rock concert elements. It was obviously a more pure wrestling show, but there was so much entertainment in that. And man, their set, the opening stage area was amazing.
Yeah, and the whole Terminator entrance, I dug that. And some of the other entrances, of course, with all the women that came out with them. I was like, I definitely saw some things of WrestleMania. But to me, the first word in WrestleMania, or when you breaking it down, is wrestle. And it just seemed like on Wrestle Kingdom, it was about wrestling. And they're like, okay, we have this show that we're adding on to make you know that the wrestling matches are important. WrestleMania, it's about the show, and there's some wrestling that goes on.
Yeah. My thought, when I heard those rumors, my kind of thought was that even though Vince is definitely more of a, I don't care what other people do, until they get so much buzz that he hears about it, and then he's like, okay, I got to squash this crap right now. Because to me, it seems like there's a mentality of, if anyone's going to make money off of this Carney show, it's going to be me and only me. And so I could see him wanting to maybe outdo Japan, because another big thing about this Wrestle Kingdom show is they talked about going global. And they're going to be doing some G1 related shows in Los Angeles. They're making a push to come into the United States, not just shows with Ring of Honor, but shows by themselves. And I mean, I think it's easy. It's easy and reasonable to say that New Japan Pro Wrestling is the number 2 company in the world. I think that goes without saying.
Yeah, and I mean, it does go without saying. And I mean, I'm hoping competition brings WWE trying some new things, because competition usually breeds innovation. So I'm looking forward to if it innovates. You know, if you want to use it and it innovates and it makes the WWE try harder, great. But when you're hearing Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar, Triple H versus Seth Rollins, Shaq versus Big Show as matches in the WrestleMania, that doesn't breed killing Wrestle Kingdom on my mind.
Oh no, and I will.
That breeds those matches should be in the Wrestle Kingdom pre-show.
Yeah, no kidding. The only one of those that you mentioned that it would even be reasonable to be on a Wrestle Kingdom card would be Seth Rollins versus Triple H.
Yes, because you're telling the story of the old cerebral assassin against the young architect, the student versus the teacher. You know, that's very much a New Japan type story that they would tell. But the execution on Seth Rollins and Triple H has been lacking.
Yeah. Now, I will say with the Big Show Shaq, as long as that ends with Braun Strowman destroying both of them, I'm okay.
Well, I don't think it ends that way, because I don't think Shaq's going to want to just be destroyed. I mean, you're talking about literally the biggest ego in NBA history. So, yeah. I think it ends with Shaq winning, and pretty much that's what the Big Show does, put over outsiders.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, I'd rather have him facing Shaq at WrestleMania than somebody else that unless he was out there with Strowman and Strowman gets a big win, because it's gonna, and this is a good way to segue into WWE for this week. But if so, show jobs to Shaq at Mania. The next night, he should come out and say, you know what, I'm going to retire. Braun Strowman comes out and destroys him.
Yeah, that would work for me.
Exactly. So Raw this last week was in Tampa, Florida. It was a lively crowd.
Yes, Jameis Winston, my favorite quarterback from the NFL, and Gerald McCoy, Oklahoma's own Gerald McCoy, were in first row in attendance.
Very nice, very nice. Now I only saw
You like facts that mean nothing to Dave, right?
yeah, not a football guy. Though when I lived in Florida, I did go to a few. We went to see the Buccaneers play in Tampa Stadium a few
They
times.
both play for the Buccaneers, so there you go.
Oh wow, nice. This was during the Testaverde years, the Vinny Testaverde years, and man, that team sucked.
Good Lord, sir. That's a late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the best thing I ever saw in that stadium, though, was the Rolling Stones with Living Colour opening up.
Absolute music guy. Did they play Cult of Personality?
Oh, hell yeah, they did. That was great.
You know it. That's the only song I know. And when he said someone's like in living color, and someone's like, they're black. I'm like, they're black? I mean, I'd never seen the band. I had only heard the song on CM Punk's entrance. So that was the only thing I knew. The first time I heard that song was when CM Punk debuted it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that song was such a huge hit.
I'm not a music guy, if I have not made that clear.
That is, yep, you very true. So, what'd you think of Raw?
Solid C effort as usual. I mean, honestly, it feels like every week they put on a very average to maybe above average. I mean, you like, hey, if I stretch real hard, squinting my eyes, I could give it a B-.
Yeah, I only watched the first little bit of this.
I mean, it just wasn't. I mean, I did like the fact Carl Anderson won. You know, I love when Anderson and Gallows are actually treated like the tag team that they were in Japan, and they're brought over, and he throws that beautiful, beautiful spine buster, and that's always good for me. They had a good backstage interaction with Jack Gallagher and the New Day. You know, it just wasn't anything. I mean, everything they do is so unfortunately predictable. Like Bayley had a match with Nia Jax. Oh, Sasha Banks comes back and helps Bayley win. It's like,
Yeah, I didn't even finish watching the show, honestly.
Yeah,
I saw the Carl Anderson match. I was happy he won. I was bummed he pinned Cesaro, but it doesn't really hurt Cesaro. I thought the Jack Gallagher with the New Day was fantastic, and it was way too short. Izzy was Bayley superfan was in the front row in the ramp area. She was right there. I was always happy to see her. And the best thing that I saw the whole time was Xavier's face when Titus O'Neil came out. Xavier Woods is amazing, and I don't think he gets enough credit for being as freaking awesome as he is. But the face he made when Titus did his own version of the New Day's entrance was priceless. I laughed so hard. And then Titus came out, and my God, was he cringy. Though his twerking was pretty
that's
funny.
the whole thing. I find Titus entertaining, and I found he was supposed to be, to me, and this is me bringing out he was supposed to be bad because he was trying to join the New Day, and Titus is a very entertaining guy, but he was supposed to come off unentertaining in that section, and I thought that's what he did really well.
Yeah, and you're right. To be fair, looking at my notes and thinking back to it, it was... my opinion changed as I was watching it, because at first I was like, oh my God, this is cringy. And then he started twerking, and that was hilarious.
Yes, because he's a funny dude. It's just they've had if you've ever watched Up Up Down Down, if Titus is on there, it's always a better show. So he's an entertaining guy. They're just having it's one of those things where they're having a hard time trying to articulate that in a wrestling setting.
And the only other thing on this segment that it was the commentary was actually pretty funny because at one point Byron Saxton made a comment about the whistle, Titus's whistle reminding him of chess practice, and then they all three got silent. And I swear, I think Cole and Corey Graves had to mute their mics because they were both laughing so hard. Because at one point, one of them just comes back on, and I forget which one. He just says, "There are no words," and that was great. And
because Byron Saxton is I don't know if it's the character he plays where it's intentionally funny or unintentionally funny, but he's hilarious to me in the kind of Urkel type nerd character that he plays. He's like a Black Screech.
Oh yeah, I love Byron Saxton, and it's moments like that I really actually enjoy the commentary. Especially Corey Graves and Byron Saxton have a great chemistry together, and they, in a lot of ways, they actually elevate Cole, and the interplay between the three of them is getting a lot better. So maybe this will eventually not be a pile of suck with the commentary, but yeah, that just because anytime the commentary just goes dead silent for a while, you know something happened, and they are just trying to not lose it. And I enjoyed. I did not see anything after that. So
yeah, to finish up with things that were worthy, Kevin Owens segment with Goldberg, it was actually pretty good, and how it ended. How it was trying to set up the tone that everybody wants to be the world champion. At a moment, Goldberg came out, and they never even introduced him. He just came out and basically told Kevin Owens he was going to take his belt. And then Kevin Owens did this really cool thing where he just was like, am I supposed to be afraid of you? And it was very indie Kevin Owens of him, because they've kind of taken the bite out of Kevin Owens lately. He's been way more of a comedic character than the prize fighter that they have built him as. So there was this funny moment when Jericho says he was going to enter the Royal Rumble, and he's like, it's okay. Well, if I win, we fight each other, and no matter what, we're still the world champion. He's like, I don't want to fight my best friend. And it was just like very kind of, it went borderline whiny, which was kind of different than what Kevin Owens leads off. I can see Kevin Owens actually costing Chris Jericho in the Royal Rumble. I can see that as that leading to Owens and Jericho at WrestleMania. The last spot of the night was Roman Reigns and Goldberg going eye to eye, and you just realized how big Roman Reigns is, and then you realize how still big Goldberg is, because they were eye to eye, and then Braun Strowman comes out like he's going to destroy everybody, and they double spear him, which Roman Reigns could learn a lot about throwing a spear from Goldberg, just because he does it so much better.
Yeah, Goldberg's spear is just the best.
Because it looks like he's actually tackling him. The thing I hate about Roman Reigns, and I don't know if it's the Superman gimmick, is that he jumps when he tackles. It just takes, to me, so much out of that spear.
Yeah, the only time I like it when he jumps is if he's doing it from the outside. And
yeah,
there was one.
If he does it to the Big Show or someone bigger, it works. But he jumps when he's spearing Kalisto. It's just, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah. There was one time he hit Rusev with a jumping spear, and he was in air for a while. He was coming down the ramp, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool. That where he just completely wiped Rusev out. I know what you're talking about there.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to SmackDown. So I watched the key parts of this show. One of which was Dolph Ziggler finally making a change.
That's going to come up later, if you can imagine, in our facelift session. But that was the moment of the night to me. It was the moment of the night on social media. It was the moment I marked out for the most. Yeah, it was amazingly, shockingly the way it was done. The writers of SmackDown made you wait long, hard, till you just really were ready to just give up on Dolph Ziggler as a jobber. And then, and even how it happened, Kalisto comes out to help him, and then he just kicks the crap out of him and says, I don't need anyone. And I was just like, that was the perfect heel turn. It was better than I've ever written it. I mean, mine were more obvious. It was very not obvious until you saw the moment where you looked like he decided he was going to kick Kalisto in the face. And the fact that it happened against Kalisto, and it's probably going to have a Kalisto-Dolph Ziggler feud, that's great because they're both really good wrestlers. So I imagine they're going to put on good matches.
Yeah, that was really cool, and I love the fact that the crowd popped big time for it.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Ziggler goes backstage to get his stuff, and Apollo Crews, who I will mention later, it starts, saying, what's your problem? And then just Ziggler just attacks him with a headbutt, which
Kalisto's my friend. It came off so nerdy when he said that. Kalisto's my friend. I was like, what? What is wrong with you? Seriously, could you have delivered that line any worse?
Yeah, that was.
You could have said, "That's my boy." You could have said it in so many different ways. Well, Kalisto's my friend. I'm like, okay, I hate you.
Yeah, that was bad. But if it goes to a feud between those two, because they could have extremely good matches, and I'm okay with that. I think it's going to end up being either him and Dolph and Kalisto, or Dolph and Apollo, or both, and I'm fine with that.
Dolph had successfully made every heel he could look good, so they made him heel, so now he can make all the faces look good.
But he's going to need to go on a winning streak for a while.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that's what I would prefer. Like I said, Dolph Ziggler being one of my favorite wrestlers. Heel Ziggler being one of my favorite wrestlers. That's the moniker. That's the Twitter name, was Heel Ziggler. It's been way too long since he was an actual heel.
Yeah, it's been since the last time he was a heel was when he was with Big E and AJ Lee, right?
Yeah, it's been years.
Yeah. So I've only got a couple other notes. What on SmackDown else stood out to you? Because I've only got a few other things.
Alexa Bliss, she's really good, and the whole them taking La Luchadora and reversing it back on Becky Lynch, and I thought, remember we were having this conversation that they needed to give Becky a sidekick, and I was hoping they would flip the stereotype on its head and give her a male sidekick. But it looks like they gave her a woman's sidekick, which is fine, but it rings too much of Charlotte and Dana Brooke for me, in my personal opinion. But Alexa Bliss has a sidekick, and she's helping with the Becky Lynch situation. So that is actually an interesting storyline. Brie Bella, and I am actually going to skip around a little bit, just for my notes. Brie Bella and Natalya, she laid out, I guess it was a punch. I thought it was a forearm that looked as strong as anything I've seen.
Yeah, Nikki's forearm is brutal.
And it was strong.
Yeah, I remember when she did that on when she turned on Brie, when Brie was having that match against Stephanie at WrestleMania. Was that WrestleMania? And whenever it was. But yeah, that forearm, that needs to be her finishing move, because she looks like she knocked some fool's teeth out.
Yeah, that is a pretty stiff forearm.
But man, Natalya's promo, her cutting into Nikki, that whole it was If she doesn't really think those things, she went on the internet, found every bad thing anyone's ever said about Nikki Bella, and was like, okay, I'm going to use that, I'm going to use that, I'm going to use that, because, that was good.
The people that cut the most scathing promos on you are your actual friends. Because they know what, you and them can talk about it. And she went in, and it was one of Natalya's best promos, and one of the times I've actually seen her as a character.
Yeah, that was great. What else jumped out at you?
Maurice slapping the crap out of Renee Young. Thinking that's I know Renee Young's a trained wrestler, so that might set up some mixed tag at Mania or maybe. And let's see. The promo with the Wyatts was always amazing on American Alpha. I don't know why they did that with Breezango. The match lasted like 40 seconds. I mean, they just completely wiped them out. It was crazy why they did that. I don't really understand why they did it. And John Cena and AJ, you were saying you were going to talk about John Cena being a dick?
Yes, yeah. Before we get there, I do want to say, that the match, the Breezango, was really sad. I mean, someone needed to eat that. They should have just had some just no-name jobbers out there. But if you were going to pin one of those guys in 20 seconds, please let it be Fandango, because Tyler Breeze is so good. And I've heard there's been, in the last few weeks online and on shows and stuff, there's been a lot of talk about. And even I think Triple H mentioned this. We might have talked about this a little bit last week about how with NXT wanting to have people move from NXT to Raw and from Raw to SmackDown and then from SmackDown to NXT, a lot more fluidity between the three brands, and doing drafts where each gets to pick somebody. I think Breezango needs to go to NXT and actually start winning some freaking matches, and then be brought back up, because those two, you're right, man. You've been saying for a long time, Fandango is actually pretty good, and I've noticed it. I've seen where you are right. He is not the steaming pile of crap I thought he was.
He just got stuck with a crappy storyline.
Yeah, but this the Fashion Police, I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah. It's one of some storylines I think would be cool if it could go from show to show. And them just showing up on Raw, giving out tickets, maybe not a lot, but just one time would be funny, maybe in the audience, that kind of thing. And giving wrestler tickets would just be of a kind of funny invasion type angle.
Exactly. At the very least, anytime there are the super shows, they need to be handing out those tickets to people from Raw. Because anytime when they have everyone together. But yeah, okay, so John Cena, AJ Styles, contract signing. Probably
the interesting contract signing I've ever seen. And that is not being hyperbolic at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very interesting. AJ, I just love that, Daniel Bryan's out there, he calls everyone out, and AJ starts, appealing to Daniel Bryan, you and I are the same. We're cut from the same cloth. This guy, he's not like us. He doesn't deserve. He walks in and gets a title shot. He doesn't deserve it, blah, blah, blah. And then AJ's like, look, I understand where you're coming from. It's not that I don't disagree with you. But he was basically saying, I have shareholders I have to appease, and this is a big match. So this is a match. Good luck, guys. And then he gets out of the ring and leaves.
The Daniel Bryan is about a borderline of heel GM. Is that heel? Well, yeah, it's the GM that you could ever expect. He is borderline heel. Yeah. He uses people to get at people, and he's pretty much turning to the authority.
But
I think it's going to be a slow burn, but I could see him very much playing a heel general manager.
I think he'll play a heel general manager in just the fact that he'll be a dick.
Yeah.
Not that he is doing things just because it's the WWE corporate way, because there's a lot of stuff he says that is just not corporate approved.
Yeah.
Especially on Talking Smack, where he just doesn't care. But this was so good. And then AJ ripping into Cena. and saying, "You are just like The Rock." And the whole time, Cena's just sitting there with this condescending, smug look on his face. He did so much about coming off as an entitled dick without saying a word. And the town loved him. I don't know where they were, but they were so into Cena, probably because, he hadn't been around for a long time. And just this whole time he's just sitting there. He's like that jock football player in high school that is a super asshole that just thinks he's better than everyone. And even when you break it down and tell him, this is why you're not better than me, he's just like, yeah, whatever. And that was John Cena the whole time. He never went full-blown heel, but he just about went heel. And this is some of the best John Cena work I've ever seen. And he came off just as such an asshole the whole time. Like, can we please get more asshole Cena? Because but the thing that amazed me is the crowd's going nuts for it. I'm like, he's being a dick.
Yeah, I would have loved if AJ Styles. The only thing I would have added is that WrestleMania draws without your name being on it. It's WrestleMania. I wish he would have called him out with that. Because, he does like to mention that he's main evented WrestleManias. It doesn't matter. WrestleMania is going to sell out because it's WrestleMania, not because John Cena's name's on it.
Exactly. And then I loved Baron Corbin coming out. And that was the best Baron Corbin promo I've ever heard.
And he agreed with AJ and said, we need to get rid of this guy, basically.
Yeah.
And AJ just wipes out John Cena. And it's funny because AJ's the heel, but John Cena's coming off more heelish.
Exactly.
He's like, I'm coming to take this spot because it's my spot. Basically. It's not because I earned it or anything. It's because I want it, so I'm taking it.
Yeah, and that whole thing, I thought, that was one of the best contract signings I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Which, in and of itself isn't saying a lot because normally
it's like NXT has kind of reinvented the contract signing. They make them way more interesting than they've ever been on Raw, and you can tell if it's, I believe the NXT writer is the SmackDown writer. You can tell because it was a completely different take on the contract signing.
Yeah, that segment was fantastic.
He laid into John Cena. That is, okay, we got to talk about this before the match because I might actually legitimately punch you if you say this crap about me in front of people. He let him lay into him. Yeah, the dig that you just basically gave your brother-in-law a title shot. I laughed at that part.
That was fantastic. Yeah, that was... And AJ was so good, and so there's been talk that they're eventually going to build to an AJ face turn, which he basically he's more of a tweener than a heel, really. Yeah, because crowds love him. He was
a full heel when he's with the club, but by himself, he's just a cocky dude that always wins.
Yep. And this was so much fun. It still makes me cry to think that Cena's probably going to win the belt at Royal Rumble. Yeah. Though it would be so cool.
Worst is that I'm going to spend money and be in the building to watch Cena win at Royal Rumble.
But wouldn't it be cool if he didn't?
It would be cool if he didn't. It would be amazing if he didn't. I will mark out and scream like a little girl if he actually loses.
Yep.
Because it's a better story if he loses. How he got mad and he went Super Cena and he still couldn't win.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, it's a very similar story to what New Japan's doing with Tanahashi.
Yeah.
He's the older guy who's been on top for so long. He's like, what? I'm still awesome. And Cena's like, this is just my spot because I'm John Cena.
But Cena and Taker doesn't work if Cena loses to AJ Styles. You would have to... I think it loses a lot of its luster if Cena loses to AJ Styles. I'm of the opinion... I am of the opinion if you want to beat Wrestle Kingdom, have it be AJ Styles against a returning Finn Balor for the WWE title. They're gonna put on the match that could compete with anything in Wrestle Kingdom. But you're not going to do that because you really don't care about competing with Wrestle Kingdom. You want to compete with Wrestle Kingdom telling it the WWE way which you won't do.
Yeah, and I don't think they're not gonna put Finn Balor on SmackDown, and I really hope they don't move AJ Styles to Raw.
Yeah, but I'm like, when you do that match, when Balor and Styles happens, which it will eventually happen, it needs to be for a title.
That is true.
I mean, it's that simple. It needs to be a title. Two of the best wrestlers in the world fighting for a prize. It can't be about who's the real leader of a faction that you really don't even recognize in the WWE.
Exactly. And there was one other thing that happened in SmackDown. Dean Ambrose became a 2-time IC champion. And
Miz is the Ric Flair of the IC title. So he's going to lose and win back and lose and win it back. And I have no problem with it. It was a very exciting way to end the match. I'm in the show. I'm not a big Dean Ambrose fan, mostly because I hate the double arm DDT. I think he does it in a way that it doesn't come off believable as a finisher. I don't know how he could adjust it or change it because, I'm not a wrestler, but it just doesn't come off as a believable finisher the way he does it.
Yeah, and we've been so desensitized.
Who does it better? Drew Galloway. He puts so much more of a snap when he does his double arm DDT. The Future Shock DDT, he puts so much more of a snap, and then he grabs the dude's arms and rolls it over like it goes straight into a pin, and it just looks so much better. It looks so much better than Dean Ambrose, and I buy it more as a finisher.
I haven't seen his. I'll have to check that out. The other problem is we've become so desensitized to the DDT as an actual finisher. I mean, when we see so many different variations of it as setup moves, and not finishing. And I forgot to mention this real quick. Back the Cody Rhodes match at Wrestle Kingdom, I loved the when he did that DDT where he had Juice's legs on the ropes. And it was a little nod to his former partner Randy Orton.
Yes. He did the Alabama Slam, and it was kind of cool. He did that nod. And then he kind of made the face like, oh, I took his move kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and for a second, you almost thought he was going to go and do the thing where he hits the mat and go for an RKO, but they didn't go that far. So I forgot to mention that earlier, so I'd throw that in right now. Yeah, I thought the ending was great. That crowd went ballistic when Dean won. That was very cool. And those two have pretty good chemistry together. I think they have overall good matches. And why? So, do you know why Dean changed from the original version of Dirty Deeds to this current version?
I'm gonna say this. Rumor alert, as in, this is what I've heard many times, is that Adam Rose was coming in and he was debuting, and Adam Rose's finisher was so much like Dean Ambrose's finisher that one of them had to change. Dean had wanted to use the double arm DDT for a while, so he went ahead and switched. Again, internet rumor, grain of salt, but that's what I heard.
And that makes sense. I like the way Dean did that, the 1%er, as EC3 calls it. He did that really well, I thought.
Yeah, and I just thought it was innovative. It was something that no one had been doing. I mean, he did it before EC3. It was something that no one had done. He did it with this kind of snap, and he the way he would kind of hold their head at the end and then do his little Dean Ambrose type facial expressions added to the finisher. It was one of my favorite finishers at the time. So it really did come off as no reason to change it, because it was pretty much, we've been seeing the DDT. It's just the DDT facing the other way. And I just thought it was so creative as a move. I loved it, and it was just like, he started using the double arm DDT, and I was like, are you trying to be Mick Foley? Which, that would annoy me, because I thought Mick Foley's double arm DDT, actually Dean's is better than Mick Foley's. It's just not quite as good as Drew Galloway's. And since I watch Drew Galloway kind of regularly now, it even comes off more as a weak finisher.
It would be nice to see him just in a match where he's having a hard time beating somebody, he's hit him with everything, him bust that out. A WrestleMania moment kind of thing. That would be kind of cool. So that was pretty much it for the WWE. Did you see... Neither of us watched NXT. Did you watch 205 Live this week?
I did watch 205 Live. The only real thing I want to bring out of 205 Live, and Neville, there was some good parts of the show, but I'm going to stick with the whole Neville and T.J. Perkins. Neville has switched finishers. He has gone from the Red Arrow, and he's using a superplex. And when I was young, the superplex is when you suplex them from the second ropes. He is going to the top rope on his superplex. And I remember when I was young, I dubbed it the super duperplex because I was 7 or 8 or whatever when they got on the top ropes. But more is just the top rope superplex. And he does it with such impact. I actually buy it as a finisher, and it works better in the flow of a match than the Red Arrow. And the Red Arrow, as proven, is much more of a face finisher than this superplex.
Very nice. I'll have to go and check that out because I was wanting to see that match.
But that is the takeaway from the match. They did Tozawa. They did Tozawa's entrance, and that was pretty cool. And Mustafa Ali's finisher, that like reverse 450, is freaking amazing. And he pulled it off tonight. These are just little hints from the night. And of course, Tajiri came back and he missed it. Brian Kendrick. It was a really good. It was actually a really good show. I mean, I would say the solid B, and I always go the range. It was a solid B to B plus.
Okay, nice. I'll have to check that out. Now, NXT was just a replay of the stuff they did in Australia, but there was some news that dropped this week. A certain someone has returned and unfortunately been given his god-awful name again.
KO number 4. As somebody pointed out to me, because I call Kevin Owens KO, and someone pointed out to me how many freaking KOs in wrestling there are. There's Okada. There's Omega. And now there's Kassius Ohno.
It's such a bad name.
Yeah.
It's such a fucking horrible name. And
this wasn't the WWE name generator, though. He got brought in where they did allow WWE people to put in for their names. And that was one of the names he liked. I don't know what it means. I'm pretty sure there's an explanation behind it. But everyone needs a hero. We all need the hero. And WWE needs a hero. So they brought him back.
Yeah. So it makes you think that if EC3 ever comes back, he will be Derek Bateman.
If EC3 comes back, the only reason he'll be Derek Bateman because with the news that Dixie Carter is out of TNA, that name is pretty irrelevant now. It doesn't make storyline sense anymore.
Yeah, true.
He's the nephew of Dixie Carter, and so now if I'm actually gonna start watching TNA this week again, given time permitted, because I have a life. So, time permitted, I'm going to watch TNA, and I would love for them to do an angle where it's like, basically, they go after him, like, what are you going to do now that you don't have your aunt to protect you?
Yeah, but he's been a babyface, right? So,
yeah,
he hasn't really been under her protection.
I mean, yeah, in essence, and he sued the WWE. You generally have a hard time being brought to the WWE once you sue them.
And that's not unreasonable.
It's not unreasonable. And you got their head trainer fired, a guy that a lot of people in the WWE still love and like. I don't think his time in the WWE would be great if he went back there.
No, and he's going to do fine, especially if TNA is able to really turn things around. And I should have actually, in our top 5 list, that should have been my number 1 thing. TNA needs a facelift.
Yeah, and the thing about TNA is I would like to see them become a legit company again, and I would love for them to make up some type of arrangement with TNA, ROH, and New Japan where they do a talent share type thing. That would be the best way to really go after the WWE and really be international.
The other thing they really need to do, they've got to ditch the name TNA. You can keep Impact. Bless you. I think they need to call themselves like Impact Pro Wrestling.
TNA has the cachet. That has been the name. That has the legacy. I've never been on one that thought they needed to change the TNA name. I mean, I know a lot of people do. I don't have a problem with the TNA name.
It's a terrible name.
I don't even think of it as T&A like they wanted you to think about it originally. I think of it as TNA, Total Nonstop Action.
I think it's just a god awful. It's a name that screams of Vince Russo. It's just so bad. But then that's just me. And I mean, I would think Impact Pro Wrestling or something like that, where you could just still keep the Impact name. I think would be good. IPW would be, even though that sounds kind of like a beer. You could just change something up, and they've got to get rid of that goddamn six-sided ring. Oh my god!
And again, I love the six-sided ring just because it's different. It's American. I mean, it's different than what happens in other. I'm just thinking with the amount of engineers in this world, someone would come up with a way to make that the mat not as stiff. It just feels like the fact that you would accept that it's just a worse mat just seems not American. It's like, I'm just going to accept that it sucks instead of having someone fix it.
I've just accepted it's terrible. Yeah, no, I just think it looks bad.
Why would you accept that it's terrible? It's a ring. I mean, you can do what you want to the ring to make it better.
True that. I just think it looks bad is my problem with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, TNA is now officially owned by Anthem Sports, and it has an Anthem. It's got its own LLC name, which I forget what it is. But hopefully this will be a new future for TNA. They unveiled a new logo. Not sure what I think of it, but I've never been impressed with any of the TNA logos, to be completely honest.
And I think he's done with wrestling, but a couple people I would try to bring in if I was Anthem. If you're really trying to put money in it, I would do my best to bring in CM Punk if he's interested in wrestling at all. And another person that's not interested in wrestling really is Stu Bennett, a.k.a. Wade Barrett. I would see about getting those two guys in there.
Stu Bennett would be a good one. CM Punk will never happen. I think he already has, because he has such hatred, I think, for TNA, because he did a short stint with TNA, and it ended so badly.
But it was a whole different group of people running TNA. So if he's just putting his hatred towards a name of where the company has completely changed its organizational system, I think that's just being a dick. But CM Punk has never said he's not a dick. So.
Exactly. If anything, he said he is a dick, and he wears that proudly.
Yeah.
Some people have said maybe that WWE will bring in Wade Barrett to do the UK show. If they do a weekly UK show, they would bring him in for that, and could kind of make him like the standard bearer of that, and that would just be its own brand in the UK, and he would finally have a chance to shine. So yeah, but yeah, I like Wade Barrett. I always have. So it'll
all the versions of Wade Barrett, King Barrett, Bad News Barrett. I just thought he was super talented at what he did. I do hope at one point I do get a chance to meet him, so I can tell him how talented I think he was, and that the biggest mistake as far as WWE, as far as with the NX or the Nexus group, was it should have ended with him being world champion.
Oh yeah, agreed. So, did you have anything else from any other news or stuff?
No, I am. Like I said, I am going to think I'm going to subscribe to New Japan. I don't know how they do their logins, but I'm probably going to throw the username and password on our group and let whoever wants to sign in. I don't know. we'll see.
Speaking of, I got to give a shout out to our group. Floyd, did you start the group originally yourself?
Yes, it was me, Aaron, Ryan, Aaron, and JG George. We had a messenger chat with us three in it, and we were messaging doing shows. And I'm like, you know what? I actually got tired of the alerts, so I made us a group. And I was like, hey, invite whoever you want. And it started off with just 3 people. We're up to 37 now.
Yeah, and it's called The Club on Facebook.
Yeah, it's called The Club. I know it was just, honestly, it wasn't supposed to be really big or anything, and it hasn't gotten too overly big. But it was just like, okay, the club with a hot faction right now, I'll just throw that name on there just to give the group a name.
But, it was... my shout out to everyone on the group, because different folks watched Wrestle Kingdom at different times, and no one spoiled it. That was a safe place to go. So it was kudos to everyone in the club. That was very nice. So as someone who didn't get to watch it till yesterday, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I was watching the show throughout the week. I was watching it 30 minutes, maybe an hour at a time at the end of my night at work, and that's what it did. And it was the fact that I could go there, and it did get kind of spoiled because I did hear Kenny Omega was going to America to reassess his future, so I imagined he lost, but the epic fashion in which he lost, it didn't affect what I thought of the match at all.
Yeah. Well, our top 5 this week is top 5 wrestlers in need of a facelift and or a new gimmick. And I kept my list completely to WWE guys, partially because this was not a list that just jumped out to me immediately. And in fact, I was working on it this morning. I was going through the WWE.com website, looking at the roster, scrolling through.
Wow, this is so funny. Great minds. I did the same thing because I had my list together, and I wanted to go to make sure I didn't miss anyone. And it did add some people to my honorable mentions list.
All right.
And actually switched someone off the list and then on it. So that should be fun.
All right, so who are your honorable mentions, if any?
I have a few. This is probably the most honorable mentions I ever have. If everyone knows, I am Gimmick strong. It's like a big part of what I like in wrestling is the gimmick. So number 1, even though we saw it start to change this week, he was already on my list, so that's why he drops out of the list and on to the honorable mentions, DZ Dolph Ziggler. I thought he had become really, really stale, and being the show off, being the best at what he does, had gotten wasted on me because he never won. So that was number 1. Number 2 was EC3. That came very late because I thought with the name TNA going away, and he's going away from being Dixie Carter's nephew, maybe he might go through a little gimmick change or whatever. I've always seen EC3 as he is not a very good wrestler to me. I love him, don't get me wrong, but his in-ring work is not the greatest, and he honestly has owned that on the indie scene. My thing with him is I would love for him to play somewhat of a Roddy Piper type character where he was wrestling and managing people. I think that would be strong for him if he was making a push to, let's say, in quotes, take over TNA. He has a little faction that he uses to try to do that. Third, they tried a gimmick. It just hasn't landed, so they need to change it. Kurt Hawkins. His Chuck Norris gimmick just hasn't got off, hasn't got over. I don't know what they were thinking. And last but not least, Spirit Squad. It's just, they've come, they've been pretty good wrestlers. Their ring work style, they need an updated gimmick for the new generation that they're in. Those four made my actual honorable mentions list, because the 5 that are on my list, I actually have ideas for what to do with their gimmick.
All right. So my honorable mentions, I have Well, I think I'm going to have 4 by the time it's all said and done. Because originally I just had 1, which was Mojo Rawley. He annoys the utter piss out of me. Seems like a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. But then,
and honestly, it just seems like that's who he is.
Yeah, and that's what makes me feel bad. Is because like his gimmick is just him. But it's maybe he just needs different. I don't know. It's just something's not working. And then, so just as we've been going along, I looked at NXT's roster, and a name jumped out to me, glaring fashion, which should be in the top 5, but it's just going to go in my honorable mentions, and that is Elias Sampson. The Drifter has got to go.
Yep.
Got to go.
And I believe the Drifter is his second gimmick in there.
Oh, poor guy.
NXT. I don't remember what his first gimmick was all the way, but he was more of a body guy, and then they went to this. And I'm all about trying different things. It's just not working.
Yeah. And then let's see here. The other, I would say Blake and Murphy, but I don't know. I'd just rather see them get back together as a tag team. If you're going to keep them separate, they both need serious makeovers. Otherwise, put them back as a tag team. So those are my honorable mentions. Who is your number 5?
All right, number 5, the Vaudevillains.
Ooh.
It worked in NXT. It was a great NXT gimmick with the whole black and white thing and the guy announcing. It was great. But for what they do now, it doesn't work. It's never going to get pushed again. They're 2 actually fairly good wrestlers that it could just use. They would go, me personally, what I would do with them is that they would basically come out as, themselves and physically, and you would go with the major, like, super dick heel turn where they say this is pretty much the dumbest thing we've ever done.
I like that. They could almost just be hipsters. And, I like that. That's a good idea. My number 5 is Titus O'Neil. We talked about him earlier. He's actually a funny guy. He's got a lot of charisma. Something's just not working. And I have no idea what to do with him, but something else needs to be done.
I will continue on to this because he is my number 4.
All right.
Titus O'Neil. So, continuing on, my idea for him would definitely be almost in the Darren Young vein of things, and they did a pretty good job of it, but I would send him to TNA. NXT like he did for a while, or one of the other organizations they work with, and let him be the big dog or whatever, and then have him come back to the WWE roster, really saying, I have, maybe even give him a manager. That is a common thread for me, but for him on this one, this is the only one that he gets that. Give him a manager and say he has found the dominance inside of him. He's found he hadn't had that edge. He found the edge, and you pretty much push him as the big guy that he is, almost like a new Mark Henry, that he just beats the crap out of people. Oh, now that I think about it, he goes to Mark Henry and he basically says, "Teach me how to put people in the Hall of Fame."
Oh, now I like that.
He's like, "I've lost my edge, and you came back with the Hall of Fame, and it seemed like you found your edge." And he's such a big and imposing figure. All he needs is a storyline. His physical nature tells the rest of the story. All he needs is a storyline.
Good call. All right, so my number 4 is Curtis Axel. I'm not real quite sure what to do with the guy other than let him have his actual last name of Henning. And it took me a while before I figured out that the name Curtis Axel is a combination of his dad and granddad's name.
Actually, when he debuted with Paul Heyman as the newest Heyman guy, he explained it in the match. So that's how I've always known it was that.
I did not. So I did not see that, but he just, bless his heart, he needs something, and Axelmania sure as hell ain't it.
Axelmania was amazing, and they just should have never ended it. That was the whole thing. Axelmania should still be running wild. He should have never got eliminated from the Royal Rumble last year. And that could have been a continuing theme for him, is that he goes into the Royal Rumble and he never gets eliminated.
Yeah, there you go. Or he never gets all the way in, because that's the
it's
thing.
It's a little underline of the Royal Rumble, but they just ended the story too quick, because it's just like, he's not doing anything. So if he's going to be this comedic character, keep him with that. The thing with Curtis Axel, I would drop his weight, put him in, I would have him drop weight, quotations. I would put him on 205 Live, and he would play a Dean Malenko type of character.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah, and now with Axelmania, had they stuck with it and kept it going, that would have worked. Bringing it back now is just going to feel...
No, I know. Definitely don't bring it back. I was just saying it ended early. To me, once an idea doesn't work, I'm on. Once you end it quickly or whatever, you go on to the next idea.
Yeah. Well, and they ended it because of the whole Hulk Hogan scandal. Because, the tape of Hogan screaming racist things came out, and they were like, oh, we got to get rid of him. Sorry, Curtis, you got to do something else. And that was pretty much that. So who is your number 3?
Bo Dallas.
Believe.
They have been changing him around. I would like him taken more as a serious wrestler. I would like the aggression that he was bringing out to be good. That's fine, but get rid of the singlet. It's stupid. And then give him a pretty good finisher. He's one of those guys, he might be in the greatest shape ever, but his body looks horrible to me. It just looks odd. So he needs to rip up, cut up, whatever he needs to do to give himself more of a physical, imposing picture. Or, again, the option that people have been throwing around it, grow some hair, grow a beard, join the Wyatts, be where you're supposed to be. The worldly brother has now become his brother in Wyatt, and it'll be Bo and Bray Wyatt.
See, I would like that. And for a while, he was growing out a mustache and goatee, and I think there were thoughts of him going that direction and becoming a Wyatt, and then they changed it. You're right. The singlet has got to go. My favorite iteration of Bo Dallas was when he got kicked out of NXT, and he came back as Mr. NXT in the mask, and then he lost that match to Sami Zayn, and then the cops were chasing him around Full Sail. That was some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen in my entire life. I was crying. I was laughing so hard. And he's like, when he screamed, "They touched my bum," and the whole thing was so hysterical. I miss that Bo Dallas. I really do. That one never... Vince didn't get it, and so it never had a chance on the main roster. But yeah, I think at this point, the best thing to do would be Wyatt family. But they're on different shows, so that's not going to happen. He's got to get new gear. Long pants. Just like Chris Hero needs new gear so bad. He is in great shape, but he has that belly. And like I said, it's not like I don't have a belly or anything like that, or I'm not in shape. I'm just saying, when your job is how you look, wrestling is very much a physical appearance show. You got to get rid of that gut. Right, and it's if your job is to walk around in your underwear.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing. Kevin Owens is a fat man, and he does not walk around in his tighty whities like Chris Hero does.
Yeah, he wears a shirt. He literally wears one of those compression shirts to bring it down, and then he's in shorts and he has on a t-shirt. He does everything he can to hide his gut, and that's what you should do.
And on a side note, his wife is beautiful.
Oh, his wife, smoking hot. Good Lord, that dude outkicked his coverage. Back in the day, he was a smaller dude. You know, he was more attractive. You know, she probably fell in love with him before he got the belly. And you know what? And that's funny. I'm talking about Kevin Owens like I don't love him. He is literally the picture on the back of my phone. He is my favorite wrestler. I bought the NXT title because he was the champion. So don't get me wrong, but to me, ignoring the fact that Kevin Owens doesn't look like your everyday wrestler is just being, naive. It's nothing. It's just not. And the fact that his wife is beautiful. She is. She's at least an 8, and that is because I only can say she's an 8 because I've never actually seen her in real life to give her the 10.
There you go. All right, so my number 3 is Kalisto. I think poor Kalisto, the lucha music's got to go. The lucha chant has got to go. He's got to change up his mask. That rat tail thing hanging off the back of his mask is terrible.
He's a dragon.
Whatever. I'm sorry. You know who does the dragon gimmick well is that dude in Lucha Underground, Drago.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. That looks so cool. But Kalisto is so good. I mean, he's so talented, and something's got to change. So,
and they want to keep him on the main roster for some reason instead of 205 Live. I guess not everyone can go to the 205 Live. You do need some undersized wrestlers on the wrestling roster just to add to it. But yeah, it would be great if he had some type of different type of gimmick.
Yeah. All right, who is your number 2?
John Cena. His attitude is actually changing, so that thinking they might be starting to satisfy me because I think he's going to more of a soft heel turn. The reason I say that is because it is obvious that when it comes to him and the Undertaker, he's going to be the heel. It's not even, no matter what the Undertaker does, the Undertaker could come out, punch a woman and a baby in the face, and John Cena would still be the heel. So, I think they're going towards it, where I can honestly see him playing more of a corporate John Cena. I can actually see him getting along with the Authority, that kind of thing, and just kind of being dickish about it. Because his real life persona, everything about his real life persona, like who he comes off as on reality shows and everything, is a dick. He is not a person I would like. He is not a person I like to be in a room with. I don't want to be friends with him. I don't want to have dinner with him. So just let that John Cena shine through, and everybody will hate him naturally.
Yeah, I didn't put him on my list at all because I just figured that's never going to happen. But yeah, the improvement in the last few weeks of him just being, a grade A douche has been awesome.
He's being himself.
Yeah.
He is being what he actually thinks of himself. He thinks he's the hardest worker in the room. He thinks he deserves everything he has, and he thinks he is better than everybody else.
Well, yeah, he's a smug, entitled dude.
Yes, he is.
All right, so my number 2 is... Crap, what was it? Hold on. Apollo Crews. Poor Apollo is so good, and they have not done squat with him, and he's got to stop being Mr. Smiley Face, because it's kind of boring, and people are going to turn on him. We've got to get this guy some personality, something.
Let me agree with you, because my number 1 is the man that never frowns, Apollo Crews. So I can continue on to adding on to yours, because with Apollo, I have seen his indie work, and when they announced that they were signing him, I went and watched his indie work. And I was so excited he was joining the WWE. I mean, you could, if you go back to the club, or actually I think this is before the club, on my actual Facebook page, I lauded how awesome this dude is. His character does not need to change a lot. Less smiling or keep smiling. Tweak it. Heel turn works, because only reason I say that is if you go to YouTube, anyone that's listening, put in his heel promos type of stuff and his heel gimmick and listen to some of the promos that he said. He is really, really good at what he does. He's really good at being, I am this super athlete. I am better than everybody else. I was 4-star athlete. I am as strong and as fast as anybody here. So it works that way.
Good call. Good call. And my number one, Roman Reigns. Got to get him out of that flak jacket, man. Got it's just something. The crowd hates him. Let's give him a reason to hate him. Roman needs something new, something different.
I completely agree. Like I said, he played this guy character, Roman Leakey, I think that was his name, and he pretty much basically said he played the I am better than you because of where I came from and that kind of thing. And if he really wanted to go to that character, that he's this blue chip athlete, the LeBron James of professional wrestling, which is what he was called originally, it would work. He would be a super heel and, have the authority, use the crap out of him, be the champion. And when he finally makes that face turn, everyone will love him.
I agree. Could not agree more.
It's simple. It's what they did with The Rock. They were like, die, Rocky, die. And then they put him in the nation, let him be The Rock, let him be this super asshole. When he went to being the people's champion, The Rock, everyone loved him. People want to boo the Roman Reigns right now. Let them boo him. Why not? Let them boo him. Because guess what? He'll still sell merchandise. It's not like his merchandise is going to affect because he goes heel for a little while as you set up the face turn.
Oh, speaking of, did you hear that the comments that he made to Kevin Owens? But did you hear about that whole dust up?
Yeah, that they were kind of going each other on Twitter about how much they make on merchandising and stuff. Kevin Owens said he made $35,000. Roman Reigns like, I made that much when I was breaking up with the Shield. It was funny.
Which the fun part about that though is he's like, I made that with the Shield. He didn't say anything about how much he's making now.
He probably makes way more than that now.
Do you really see that much of his merch out there?
Children, like at WrestleMania 31, yes, that was the most I saw. Last year, and I don't know if it was just Texas, saw a ton of John Cena stuff. It was mostly John Cena last year, but in California, and it might have been because that's Samoan country, it was almost exclusively, like, it was a lot of Roman Reigns or Bellas.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, when people talk about the Bellas, I'm like, I hate them in the ring, right?
Right.
But what they do for merchandising in the WWE is why they get to keep their spot. Because all I saw was Bella socks, Bella shirts, women cosplay as Bellas. I saw skinny Bellas. I saw big Bellas. I saw male Bellas. I saw all the Bellas.
Saw all the Bellas. That's great. And
and it was like 31 is when I realized how over the Bellas was, and I really did go away from wanting them to go away, just because they do what they do. I know a ton of people, guys that watch wrestling, whose girlfriends only watch WWE, the Total Divas show.
Yeah,
So they sell. They do what the WWE needs them to do. All right.
And you know what? Nikki has gotten a lot better in the ring. She's not terrible. And especially if she keeps throwing that forearm. Oof. Yeah. I don't want to get hit with that.
It's a good forearm.
That is a good forearm. Well, that's pretty much going to do it for this week for us. Did you have anything else you wanted to bring up or talk about before we get out of here?
And no, set up the top 5 for next week because it's for you, baby. It's for you.
Damn. Let's go with...
remember we already discussed it.
Oh, we did. What is it?
Top 5 theme songs.
That's it. You're right.
The music man. And I was just like, hey, Dave's the music guy. I want to know what his top 5 wrestling theme songs are. And, of course, I imagine it's going to be close to a top 10 with you. And you're probably... I would advise during the week, if you see anything from New Japan or anywhere else, go ahead and send me the link so I can at least listen to it before the show.
Okay, will do. Well, we're going to get out of here, folks. It's, what did I even say? What it's, it's January 8th, Sunday, 2017. It's our this is our second show of the year?
Second show of the year.
God, I can't keep anything straight anymore. Okay, we're out of here, folks. Y'all take care.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view. And believe.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Bam! Woo!
That sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
What? It's for charity.